All right, here we are, January 22nd. It's a cold day, a couple degrees above freezing, and we are once again at Vetter. Gonna go for a little ride, a little more testing of the Osmo Action 6. Pretty standard route, nothing crazy. Riding alone today. It's cold, just above freezing. Although the trails should be in good shape because it hasn't really rained since last I was out on the weekend. So I'm guessing the trails would be really a little change there. But with the camera, brand new Osmo Action 6. I did a few test runs last weekend and I was a little disappointed, to be fair. A couple things. One, I made a huge mistake and I was filming in 1080p and this thing goes up to like 8K. So I'm now on 4K. Okay, so that should be a lot better. But I'm just going to take a pretty standard route here. A route that I know should be fun, but again, with my vibe, pretty flowy. Nothing extreme. Pretty easy riding alone anyway. Although, other than windfall, on some of the lesser traveled routes, I think the actual trail should be in great shape. Which is more than I can say for myself, as I've been kind of neglectful of my cardio over the last few months since the actual riding season stopped. When I looked at my Strava or Trail Forks prior to the weekend, my last ride was 2.5 months previously. We've had a really wet, miserable fall. And even now, I would normally have had the dirt bike away until pretty late in the spring because I'd be on my snowmobile, but we're going through this kind of unprecedented, well, I wouldn't say unprecedented, but pretty extreme dry spell. But beyond just a dry spell, pretty much all the snow in the whole area we are has been destroyed by warm temperatures, rain, and then a freeze. So it's going to be and there's no big systems in sight, so it's going to be quite a while before we get back out on the snow. So thus the dirt bike, you can shake off some of the rust here, of which there is a lot. Unfortunately, the reality of anybody who's getting a little on in the years like myself is that every season there seems to be just a tiny bit more rust that doesn't get shaken off. Oh, fingers are cold. It is one of those days where so we're gonna go up the Spine Trail. See, that's new right there. That's interesting. That might avoid you having to go to the road, which would be really nice. I see it probably hooks up to this lower trail. I'm gonna remember that. Any road you can avoid, the better. Anyway. Yeah, temperatures like this, the struggle is keeping the hands warm because it's wet. I mean, it's not wet, sorry. If it gets wet, it'll be bad. It's cold, crispy. Oh boy, bad line. Holy cow, now we're going slow, but that's okay. I don't mind. Try to go smooth and keep her between the trees. Okay, tiptoe around here. I might go into second because I know there's a few little rocky ups here, like this. Nice. If I can take the high line, if it's dry, that's better, which I could. And then here, that was bad actually because my fingers are so cold I can't really work the clutch properly. I meant to kind of fan the clutch a bit and get some revs in the bike. A little more energy in the bike hitting those obstacles, but anyway, there's so much traction that was fine. And of course these 300s know how to chug, so wow. Yeah, my clutching finger is frozen solid. I actually can't feel it. Oh, the only thing worse right now would be as if it got wet. So any puddles, I'm really gonna tiptoe through her around. Holy. Yeah, last weekend was a weird inversion. We had actually quite warm temperatures, up to 10 or even 12 Celsius now. We're like 3 or 4. Makes quite a difference on the hands. I'm just wearing everything I normally wear when it's cold. I've got pretty decent underlayer, my armor, jersey, and then I'm also wearing windbreaker, very thin uninsulated windbreaker, which actually makes a huge difference if you just cut the cold air out. And I just thought about with these electric bike, when it's time to warm my hands, I'm just gonna have a pull over and I'm gonna put my hands on the radiators or even pipe. If I was running an electric bike, I guess I couldn't do that. I thought it was possible to put heated grips on the Starkvarg. How much extra juice you've got. There's no, it doesn't produce energy outside of its battery, so every bit of juice you pull out, I assume, takes away from your range, even though I don't know how much that would be. I'm sure heated grips actually do pull a fair amount, actually, because it's not really a very efficient heating. Maybe heated gloves would be the better answer. Well, at the end of this little section of spine, I'm going to pull over and heat up the hands, because right now I am not able to really feel anything in my clutch finger, which is not good. The other thing I just remembered is I forgot to put my little tape on there, which pads up the finger I should typically need. Oh, this is where they all put out so much crushed gravel here. It used to be pretty swampy. All right, let's pull over here in the sun and warm up. Holy cow. I have got to warm up this finger. It is actually, reminds me when I was a little kid and you go outside and play and you stay out too long and your fingers get cold and then you come inside and it warms up and it hurts, it aches. I think I'm going to be doing that here. Wow. Yeah, the problem with riding off-road like this is you really need a fairly thin glove because you really have to have good contact on the bars and levers. So if you had like a really thick glove, it'd be difficult. I guess I could have used one that I use for sledding. It's got a bit of Thinsulate in it, and Gore-Tex, but it is leather, and it's pretty nice. And I know that our gloves get trashed out here because you're moving deadfall. It's kind of slimy, and if you get some mud splashes here and there, it's not as nice for the gloves compared to when we're in sleds and we're just on snow. Oh, the radiator is giving me some heat. That's nice. All right, well, let's just break up this clip and warm up a little more. Okay, well, I've spent a couple minutes trying to warm up that finger, and we'll try to carry on with our ride here. Ooh, all of a sudden I feel really coolness through the lever. Anyway, well, I'll probably have to stop again. Sometimes when it's not too cold, I find like your body starts getting warm, you start warming up, and you only kind of have to warm your hands up once, and unless you stop for a long time, you kind of stay warm. But it's particularly cold today, so I might have to stop again. Anyway, we're gonna make our way again. Super chill ride. We're gonna do one of the easier trails but fun called Goonie. Let's try to keep her on one, keep her up here. Yeah, really chill. And again, more rather than trying to make any kind of landmark rides here, it's really about a little cardio on the body and having some fun testing the camera. Whoa. That was weird. Alright, let's go. Sometimes I find when you're standing up and you but you unexpectedly have to transition to sitting, I find my boot starts pressing on the rear brake and really upsets the bike. It wants to stop, basically. And if you're a little out of balance anyway, which is why you're sitting down, unexpectedly it can really put the final nail in the coffin. And that's what almost happened back there. Anyway, like I say, we're just gonna cruise. Riding gear high. Oh. Which means, yes, it will stall easier. Typically gear high for kind of smoothness, but it kind of can be a bit of an issue if you're struggling feeling the clutch. I'm hoping that my body will warm up now and I'll get that circulation flowing. Anyway, back to the camera. Yeah, I made a mistake. I don't know what happened. I thought I'd set it up for 4K, 30, you know, rock steady, all that. Anyway, I'm kind of did a tiny bit of research on the YouTube, right? And what that told me is that what I should be doing is well, obviously shooting 4K, but that was just a mistake. But so that'll make a big difference. 30 frames per minute. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna go this way. 30 frames per minute, and shoot in the D-Log color mode, which is a very flat color mode, but it doesn't put any color processing or very minimal or whatever. So when you do that later on your program or computer, if that's what you do, then it's a weird tight corner, then you get a much better color profile. So with my Insta360 X3, I have been using DaVinci Resolve, the free version, just because it's kind of from what I can gather, everything you need, nothing you don't need. Okay, for a free package. And if you ever do want to really get into it and be a pro level producer, then you can just get the paid version, which is sounds like it's almost like 80% of what you get in the free version, and add those things you want, but otherwise, you know, you're good. Anyway, but because I kind of have a basic familiarity with DaVinci and color correction, then it wasn't too hard to sort it out. Anyway, but there is an actual, what they call a LUT, it's a lookup table for color, and rather than manually adjusting it every single time, you can just apply this lookup table to color correct that, you know, oh, I think I wanted to go in. There's a trail or something like that. No, I think I missed it, so I'm gonna, oh, maybe I can go here. This isn't really the trail, but it's just a bypass. Anyway, yeah, this wasn't really the trail. Oh well. Anyway, DJI put out this lookup table for basic color correcting when you're shooting the D-Log on DaVinci, which is awesome because for most of it works really well. I'm sure you can tweak it more, and if you get really good at it, I'm sure you'll want to take more manual control, but for a newbie, it's perfect. So it's on the DJI website, and it's called DJI Osmo Action 6 D-Log to Rec 709, which I guess I don't even know what that is. It's a standard color correcting or something like that. Anyway, it seemed to work really well, even with my 1080p footage, just bringing some stuff out, but obviously not very good because it was already had applied its color. So what I'm hoping is that now that I'm shooting in D-Log, when I apply it, I'll be really, really good. Again, a challenging dirt biking, like mountain biking, can be very challenging in that you're, especially around where we are in the Pacific Northwest, BC, you know, we're in the woods all the time, and the light's always, it's always a challenge. Lights and darks are just dark. It really grooved out there. And just plain dark struggles, and that's where I was really hoping the Osmo Action 6 with this physical aperture, so pretty low f-stop, I would hope, to let more light in when it needs to, and yet be able to deal with some of the highlights. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, they're all so good compared to the old days, you know, the old GoPro heroes from way back when. They're all so good, but we're always hoping for the use case, this use case, which is moving pretty rapidly through a highly textured, somewhat darker, variable world like this, that, you know, we make a big step forward. I don't know if it's going to be, but we'll find out. I didn't really give it a fair shake last time because I was shooting at 1080p. But also, just a few tips like lowering the exposure, EV, a little bit, which is, I think most action cameras, they recommend that. You just don't get, you always bring up the shadows, but you can't get back the blown out highlights, so from what I'm gathering. So I've done that, and also there's a texture that tries to sharpen things up, and I think it's been recommended to kind of lower that down, which I've done. One step, maybe might need two, because there's so many textures and going by so fast, variable lighting, that it over sharpens, and then that ends up looking kind of almost pixelated, you know? Okay, that was kind of bad, but It's a real, comment on that last time I was there, it's a real kind of sharp edge there. Probably better to go either just above it or below it. Oh. All right. Stop thinking about it and start thinking about the trail in front of you. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. So this is a real big test for that. Very similar lighting conditions to last weekend. Shadow, light and dark, some bright spots. Yeah, we'll see. It's not ideal, but we'll see. But I'm sure hopefully shooting at 4K 30. I hope that cleans it up with the D-log. And then color correct later, decrease the EV, decrease the texture. If that's the secret weapon, then I'll be happy. Now the only other thing that I'm humming and hawing about is, well, I'll probably end up getting it, but it's pretty expensive for what it is the extra wide angle. This, again, stock comes 155, but then when you start adding stabilization, it kind of cones it in a bit, so you lose a lot of your wide angleness. So it makes it a bit more difficult, I find, to frame the picture, because you kind of lose the handlebars a bit, which is nice to see in the frame, unless you're strictly filming your buddy in front of you, in which case that's fine. But so when you get the boost, it's 180 degrees or 182, and then of course, you know, once you get image stabilization, it probably brings it back down. But I ran that before on my GoPro, and of course not an issue with a 360 camera, because you can kind of choose how wide you want it. But I think with this one, for this sport anyway, it's probably going to be a real value added. But they're like $100 US, 140 here. So I don't know. I probably will just. Kind of fun. It becomes a bit of a hobby, but I think if you're an actual content creator, then it'll be a no-brainer. But for the average guy, he pretty much just puts this up because it's basically free storage for my own use and memories. Probably not needed. Okay, let's see if we can check up here. Yep. I'll take that. I'll take that. Felt like I had good power. Just thought this winter riding is going to add a few hours onto this bike that I did not anticipate adding. I thought I'd be back in like April or something, but here I am in January riding, so we'll see what kind of the rest of the winter's in store for us. I'm sure I'll be back on the sled in a couple weeks, but we'll see. That can be a frustrating sport. It reminds me of when I was into wind sports, and unless you actually live in a wind, like a mecca for high winds, it can be so frustrating chasing the perfect weather conditions and finding the snow for backcountry mountain sledding is kind of a similar thing, unless you're unemployed or very, very flexible with when you can go and when you can't. It can be very frustrating because yeah, you can go out when there's not fresh snow and all that, but I think that's just because you don't have anything else to do. The actual sport itself is really all about deep snow and maneuvering your way through the backcountry. in that deep, deep snow. That's sort of the fun of it. Is so that's the only time I really go out. Kind of dumb, but to me it's kind of like the surfer. There's no waves, you still go out, paddle around, sure, I guess, but wouldn't you rather just go out when the waves are up? Anyway, but the cool thing is, very often when we get those really bad spells like now, if you're a little bit hardy, you can get out on the dirt bike. Yeah, just that funny, just that little bit of timing is just off. You know, my clutch finger is a little cold, but not completely frozen like it was the last time when I had to stop there. It's a little misbehaving. Not exactly accurate, but let's go a second here. But not bad. Woo. Well, so except for that 2 or 3 minutes that I warmed up my fingers, top of that spine trail, I've been riding continuously. So again, it's good for the cardio, but you're starting to feel some of the riding position. I don't know about everybody else, but what I find is that because I'm standing most of the time, I'm finding that it's more to the lower back. It gets really stiff, and that happens anyway, but often you can go for quite a lot longer before it hits. Kind of like when you're early in the season, you get arm pump, you know, after 15, 20 minutes, whereas when you're in the season, maybe you can still get arm pump, but maybe it takes like a solid hour of really good riding, or even longer, or maybe never, but you should get in shape for that. Such a fun trail. Again, I know you might think that if you know this area, you might think that it's going to be swamped with water, because it can be wet on this side, but it's not. I don't know what it was with I think it's the dry air. It just evaporated the water. So cool. Anyway, I know I'm going slow here. Second gear, that's probably don't need to just be in second gear. Sometimes it's nice just to ride, switch your brain off, and not be too challenged. Without me to feel aggressive on the trail, just chill. I don't know if you actually get that much better, but you sure feel good. You know, when you're, there's a bit of a puddle here. When you're kind of pushing the pace, either pushing yourself or riding with people that are better than you pushing the pace, you do get better. You can have some moments, some bad moments sometimes, but you typically do get better. But it's also nice sometimes just enjoying that skill level that you hard earned, you know, and riding well within that skill level and just enjoying it. Like, it's so stress free, you know what I mean? Wow. Because I haven't even been thinking about the trail. I've just been taking one turn after another, and this trail can seem like such a long trail sometimes, which is not a bad thing, it's a good thing, but I'm almost at the end of it, and I just like almost can't believe it. Wow. Easy, smooth. I can't even believe I'm here. Like, did I fall asleep? What am I? No, I was thinking my zone 2, but my heart rate, no, it's You know, this is zone 3 to 4. That's, well, zone 4 probably because I'm a little out of shape, but zone 3, you know, all this. When you get into trying to figure out your fitness and either your experience, you kind of know all about it, or but there's a lot of talk about zone 2 being kind of somewhere you're going to spend a lot of time in, and that's fine because it's easy. That's where you can kind of do something, still talk, still say sentences. But I think there's a lot of also evidence that you need to spend time in all the other zones if you really want to improve your cardiovascular fitness. But zone 2 is better than nothing, that's for sure. I think it probably does prevent complete collapse of your fitness if you're unable to participate for whatever reason, whether it's seasonal or work injury, you name it, right? So, but what's the one thing I like about dirt biking? When I look at my heart tracings, it's almost like I'm spending the perfect amount of time in all the different things. Now, this is not doing hard enduro or not during a race situation. This is just, you know, fun riding, trying to be good, trying to be not just goofing around, stopping all the time, but trying to have a good ride, knowing that, you know, your goal is to do some cardio. I just find that when you break it down in the charts, so if you've got a watch that tracks that, then you'll realize, yeah, it's kind of it's amazing for your fitness. All right, let's just pause here. And we're back. Little break. I think my hands are actually warmed up. So what I was talking about before, where you often only have to warm your hands up once after you get started riding, because then you get warm in your body. As long as your body's warm, you kind of stay warm. So, and I was just thinking in my mind, the route I want to take. I do want to keep it chill, for sure. Again, out by yourself and just, again, rusty as hell. You kind of don't trust yourself, right? Anyway, I think I've gone up here the last couple times. I don't know. I tend to fall into the same routes, patterns, and I do that because I'm kind of familiar with it. But I'm also I wanted to avoid that rock. I hit it last time. It was super edge hit. Just comfortable, you know. You kind of know what you're up against. And also, this time of the year, I think some of the secondary trails are going to have a lot of windfall on them. However, I don't know. Guys have been out a lot last weekend, so maybe cleared some stuff up. I just don't know. Anyway. Yeah, again, I remember this area, pretty good traction. Let's go this way. Kind of smoothly, kind of trying to take smooth lines through there. It's really, really good conditions. Really chugging her. I'm kind of on the clutch a bit, feathering the clutch a bit, just because I'm quite low in the RPM. But the traction is just incredible when you do that. These 300s, it's like a built-in traction control almost. I imagine the TEs are XCWs are even better for that, but now last time we turned left there, I want to go check out this section here. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty fun. It's often very grown in the summer. Still very rideable, but not this section, but further up. But I'm guessing that this time of the year, all those ferns and stuff are it's like big whoops in there. For the most part, I'm not really riding aggressively, where you're kind of my style. When I'm going a little more spirited, I tend to kind of rush the corners a bit and use a bit of rear brake to help steer around the corners as opposed to throttle. I'm not saying it's the best, it's just the style that I've developed over the years. It works for me. Ooh. The muddy little rut I didn't trust. Anyway, right? When you're riding more aggressively, then that works. I'm not even doing that, so I'm just kind of gently getting around the corners with that kind of flowy traction. There's a trail that I learned last summer that goes off to the right here that drops me down to the next level, but right there. But no, I think I'm gonna stick with this here. Nope, that's a big rut with a root in it, a stump in it. Little. Lots of ways that can go wrong. Same with this. Wow. Whenever you see an area that's dug out like that, you know somebody was going up there slow and didn't clear that root or whatever and just started digging out in front of it. Which means that becomes a little something that needs to be managed. Woo! Okay. It's funny, the roots are pretty good, but I still find I don't really trust them in terms of hitting them on an angle. This is one of those areas where you feel like you're in a tunnel in the summer, but right now it's kind of wide open. Woo! Right? Yeah. Taking it easy. I gotta. Oh, probably should have been in, second there. Way off the torque curve. But I had a little upset of my bike that I was expecting. Oh, okay. Well, I will definitely then. Gotta get the drive going up here, I'd like. Come on, keep her going though. That was weird. Oh, yeah. Usually, it's clear at the bottom there, right? So you have some drive going up there. I remember there's we'll just go this way. There's a trail that goes off to the, right here. Ay. Don't really wanna, that's not even a tree. That's a branch that came off and got stuck in the ground. Well, let's see if there's any windfall or anything, right? looks like there's been tracks here, so. All right. Take the high line. Try to keep a bit of momentum up. Take the high line again. Like a really high line. Whoa. High line where I felt I needed to dab. Maybe I wouldn't do that in the wet. Okay, this trail. No idea about windfall or anything. I'm sure there's some, so. The sight lens are pretty good, so there's a tree down. I should be able to see it fairly far ahead. I'm looking far ahead, which is also something I have to remind ourselves once in a while. Huh, there was a tree down, but they've been at it. It's fresh cuts. Somebody handy with a chainsaw. It's actually a really fun trail. Blast holes. You know. I think we'll do the good old meat grinder. But I promise myself if I come across a big windfall, like a significant size, then I'll probably just turn around because, yes, I'm packing a handsaw, but to me that means that the whole trail hasn't been cleared. Yeah. Oh, rock sticking out there. Killed her. Gotta keep your eyes sharp. There's little deadheads and rocks sticking out on the side of the trail. Especially in these kind of lighting conditions, where it can easily just look like a shadow. Down, and we're going to hook up left. I'm going to turn down to second to prepare for that, and away we go. Come on. Oh, that was terrible. Terrible, absolutely terrible. In my mind that was going to go a lot better. I wanted to get around that corner, stay on the pegs and just keep her going on the pegs, but I don't know. That was a weird janky corner for sure, with no berm and loose. Lots of ways to make it not a smooth thing. The only thing is that little rocky part after that used to be a bit of a step up, but it's been kind of filled in, so you can actually just kind of take your time going around it. Okay, I'm gonna go in third, and we're gonna see if we can get up this meat grinder now. Ow! Thought I had more clearance there. And by ow, I mean it didn't actually hurt, but. So I need to get into the meat a little bit here. Now don't get a weird bounce. Keep checking. This is where I kind of want us. This is exactly a situation where I think that one or two extra teeth on the back is gonna be nice. Second, because it's kind of loose there, second is fine, but if you're standing, it's so easy to kind of spin that wheel a bit and lose your drive, or oh shit, you know. Whereas, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Whereas, in third, it's just much more smooth, but okay. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. Up those routes, but you know what? Woo! Okay, come on, don't be an idiot. Keep it rolling now, keep it rolling. Woo! Well, I'm gonna talk too soon. So far, pretty clear. A bit of junk down, but nothing that, oh, this is okay. Gotta pay attention. This is the tough part here. Yeah, buddy. That's exactly the way I like to do that. Get up high, push through the pegs to maintain traction, keep the front wheel out of the dips. You can jump over that stuff, either right down the middle or on the left side, but those are big hero moves, and if you mess it up, either your own self or you don't lose drive or something like that, then you go from hero to zero real quick. If you're fully committed to that move, and then your front wheel just stops and it fell in the hole or whatever, and you usually go over the bars in some way. So I like the way I did it, where you're just sneaking along the high line, keeping your front wheel out of trouble. The funny thing about back there is because there's the way the routes are spaced, if you don't get over the second one, both your front and your back wheel are actually in a hole. Like trapped almost. So it's actually embarrassingly difficult to extricate yourself sometimes. Whoop, tight. That was a little bit too conservative. Whoa, look at, there's a huge, beautiful view here. Oh yeah. Look at that, eh? You can't see it because it's so far away, but the end of Cultus Lake below us, lots of mountain. We're pretty high. We're not the highest, but second highest that we get typically on the mountain here. Snow, the higher elevations across is much higher over there, but obviously nothing in the trees. It's been a while. Cultus has a bit of a silty green look to it. which it typically doesn't have in the summer. So we've had some heavy rains, and I imagine there's been quite a bit of silt and runoff in there. So I probably should have a drink. All right, let's cut this here then. Water. Says I've been riding for 1 hour and 10 minutes about. I can never tell sometimes, unless it just started. If it said an hour and 50 minutes, that would have been. All right. Well, this one is very doable. This is exactly the kind of thing that I would do with my saw. It's not going to break, I don't think. All right, let's just take a pause, and we'll pull out the saw, and we'll cut this thing out. Just like that, right? Just like that. I've also just adjusted the camera down a bit. It might have been knocked upwards, just for my own reference. Again, I think ideally with a chest mount, if at some point you come across that perfect, angle, you can just kind of I'll put a wedge behind the chest mount so it holds it exactly the right angle. Anyway, that is the ride for January 22nd, 2026. Very easy, very simple, more of a test. Work on the cardio base, and for the camera, see where we're at. I have no idea, as I'm saying this, whether any of this footage is usable. If it's pointed too high or whatever, but I'll find out this evening when I load her up.